Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hove. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about the first presidential debate. Just wrapped up the stream on Twitch. It was a fun-filled night, and by that I mean it was an absolute disaster. I am extremely disappointed. I tuned in, hour and a half. It was just non-stop, action-packed. But not really what I was expecting. So let me give you guys my first just general overview, right? I don't know who won. I think everybody lost. I think the American people lost. I think Joe Biden lost. I think Trump lost. And it was really because Trump had a lot of really solid attacks. And I think it was a brilliant strategy. Only because Trump knows the way these things work. Trump knows that debates are all about sound bites. And he also knows that most Americans are not watching this entire debate, because if they were, they're probably bored. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Joe Biden's camp, for CNN, MSNBC, all of the left-wing media. They're going to have a real tough time finding great clips to showcase Joe Biden looking good. On the flip side, Trump spoke so much, he interrupted Joe Biden so much that, one, he made Joe Biden look defeated. He was very confrontational with Chris Wallace, which didn't make him look good, and I think that didn't come off well on camera. But then also, he kind of exposed himself in a bit because he created a lot of opportunities for him to misstate facts or exaggerate, or basically put him in a position where when they start fact-checking this thing, he's probably going to, the narrative tomorrow is probably going to be Trump lies about X, Y, Z. So you said you guessed Trump won. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Like I said, yes, if it was just who had the most points, yeah, Trump definitely had the most points. But I think it's an entire package. And this is not me just trying not to give Trump the victory. I think he did rather well. There were definitely a lot of exchanges where I think he just crushed Joe Biden. I mean, he demoralized him. Specifically, there was a moment where Joe Biden started to go into his diatribe about suckers and losers, and Trump calling the military, that whole thing. And then Trump stops him and he says, "You mean your son Hunter, the one who got discharged from the military for cocaine use?" And Biden was just jaw on the floor, dumbfounded, like totally caught off guard, and he walked right into it. It was definitely not good for Biden at all. But I just think that's not gonna, well, that'll probably get some play on Fox News, right? But as far as what CNN's going to run tomorrow, it's just going to be the inaccuracies, because I think he had quite a few. I think he had quite a few moments where the fact checking is what's ultimately going to hurt him, and it's going to not make him look great when, of course, they're going to be able to run with the narrative that Trump continues his lies, right? Because that's what's going to come out of it from that side. Now, on the flip side, Fox it's going to look like two different events, because Fox is going to run clips. Fox is going to showcase all the times when he crushed Joe Biden. I mean, just knock the wind out of him over and over and over again, because there's at least 4 big moments. The tax code incident, the military thing. There's a lot of incidences where he really got Joe caught up, and Joe just did not have very many moments in this debate where he looked even decent. I mean, this is definitely not third debate of the primary Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden getting attacked by all of the candidates in the second debate. Vote for the policies that will affect your life. Yeah, we didn't talk about policies tonight. You know what I mean? We didn't really get there. We didn't get to policies. But again, debates are not about policies. Debates are about highlights. This is a slam dunk contest. This is not a full game, right? So Trump definitely had some bigger dunks, flat out. He just had some bigger moments. But I think anybody who watched it, an undecided voter who watched it, I don't think they came off watching this and felt very good about Donald Trump, despite those moments, simply because he reminded you of the caricature that he has become. He reminded you how overbearing that he has been. He reminded you how much of an authoritarian he might ultimately become in a second term. But I mean, I could be way wrong about that. I know they got some polls that are probably going to come out here pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't think this looked great for Donald Trump. But again, the highlights, yeah, Trump definitely has got some nice highlights off of this. I think the Trump campaign is going to look really good off of this. I think the Biden campaign is going to again run with the lie narrative. But Joe Biden did not look good. The interruptions were very distracting to a point. It just got annoying and it got kind of boring, which is really disappointing because I was really expecting this to be the highlight of the campaign. Appreciate you with the super chat. What does it say? How do I think Yang would have done against Trump? Yang would have gave Trump the business. I will tell you that. And this is not even this is no cap, as the kids say. Yang is smart. Yang knows facts, right? One of the big things that I think Trump did really well tonight is that he knew his facts. He up until the last month and a half, he didn't really have all this stuff down. But obviously over the last couple of weeks, he's really sat down. He's got his bullet points. He really learned his material, and he was able to hit Joe over and over again with things that Joe just wasn't used to hearing, with facts, false or otherwise. But I think that, Yang is that. Yang has the facts. Yang is not only knows the old facts, he knows the new facts. He would be able to point to Trump's record. He would also be able to point to the humanity aspect. I just think that this was not a good matchup for Biden at all. But I think Yang would have been done very well. I think I will say this. We always talked about Yang not being aggressive enough. I can't say that based on the way Donald Trump debated tonight, Yang would have been able to overcome it. I think he would have had a lot of moments where we were like, yes, those are very good answers. But I think the perception of Andrew Yang in this event might not have been great because Trump was so aggressive. Like, he was not merely, stating a couple of facts and then interrupting you a bit. Like, he was talking over everyone. He was talking over the moderator. Like, Chris Wallace would be like, all right, let's go over to Joe. And he'd be like, no, I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer this question. He would just talk. So they're definitely going to have to come up with a better format for the next debate, because this does not work. It was not very palatable. Like, it was very difficult to really digest this particular debate. This is why I said Trump had a lot of good moments, but he's got to take his foot off the gas just a little bit. I mean, he's hitting about 85 right now. If he comes back down to 65, 70, he's got a really good shot of looking good. He was just going a little bit too hard tonight, especially considering his opponent. I mean, just Joe Biden. You got to let Joe Biden hang himself. You know what I mean? Like, he says wild things. There were a lot of moments where Joe Biden was completely frazzled. I think he told him to shut up at one point. He told him this guy's the worst president of all time. Like, he said a lot of things that we expected Joe Biden to say if he got frustrated. But I just think Trump was just a little bit too aggressive for his own good tonight. 1 second. If Joe would have just stayed home. Yeah, if Joe would have just stayed home. I'm writing in Yang, so I have an easier time laughing at the two bozos. Yeah, it was definitely a clown show. It's a shame how people won't look at the facts, just how they feel. Well, again, Trump's performance was not great for television, but it was great for the actual format of this event, right? He knew that the best way to get a good response, or to win a debate per se, is to have the most talk time and to have the most highlights, and he's done that. He definitely had the most highlights. He definitely had the most talk time. But I think for anyone who watched it, they're going to have a different perception than the people who watch the highlights that do surface, if any do. Like I said, there's just not going to be a lot for Joe Biden. This is the Lakers versus the Heat. I disagree with you on this because Trump has nothing to pick on Yang. Yang is not a politician, and he has no history. True, but we know that when we watched the debates, we often felt that Yang was not speaking up enough for his. He wasn't stating his case. He was letting other people interrupt him. He was not finishing his thoughts. I'm not finishing his thoughts. He was very concise, right? He's smart. He's fact-based. He was able to be concise. And we knew that concise, great for logical people, not great for the statistics that show you had the most talk time, not great for who had the most highlights on the board, who's going to have the most reposts, the earned media. So yes and no. But we can agree to disagree. No harm, no foul. Put them in a sound where you can. Yeah, they definitely got to cut off Trump's mic in the future events. Trump needed a muzzle. He was noisy, but he looked sloppy and didn't sound like he knew what he was talking about. Yeah, like I said, the fact checking is definitely going to hurt Trump tomorrow. Like when they go through this debate, it's going to hurt him bad. He said a little bit too much. Chris was horribly by it. Well, we knew that, and that's what I'm saying. The strategy was right. Trump had the right strategy. He was just a little bit too aggressive for his own good. What about encouraging his followers to watch the polls? I'm not concerned for myself, but I foresee problems. Bryce, can you restate that question? What about encouraging his followers to watch the polls? Restate that question. I'm not sure what you're saying. I have an idea, but I know I'd like you to restate that if possible. Trump looked like an idiot, like a Ben Shapiro talking loud and fast and being rude. It doesn't make you smart. For sure, like I said, he was too aggressive for his own good. Trump is great at counterpunching politicians, and Yang has no history of being a politician. Trump was wrong a lot. Yeah, he wished he was debating Sanders. He kept trying to connect Biden with Sanders, and they're totally different. Joe needed some smart bills today. I mean, I think Joe was prepared, but I mean, we knew that Trump was going to be really aggressive, right? And we knew that Trump's plan was to be annoying. And that's what Joe let happen. Joe let being annoying. And I'll say this, because this was the one thing Joe Biden did do right. He couldn't stick to it. I think that Trump knocked him off his game so much. If he had consistently just talked to the American people and told those stories and just, been relatable, I think he would have had a really good shot of this being a good moment. So you know what? Let me take that back. The exchanges for Joe Biden didn't look good, but I think he did have some decent moments where he spoke to the camera and spoke to the people. I don't think those moments really resonated well in the actual context of the debate, but I think in the replay, when you take them out of that, they might look decent. And anyone who didn't see the debate might think that they came off well, but they really didn't. So I will give you that for sure. Yang Hu. Highlights of a buffoon. He ducked more questions than Joe. True. Joe should have called him on it. The moderator should have called him on it. With the odds stacked against him, Trump acted exactly as he should have, given the countless lies planted on him, clear lies solely to assassinate his character. I mean, exactly. He had no choice. Trump had no choice. I just think that he had enough good exchanges that he could have taken the foot off the gas a little bit. But at the same time, I think that would have been more for the consumption of the actual event. But when it comes to the highlights, when they start dissecting this thing, I think Trump's performance is going to look better than Joe Biden's actually did. But I don't think this is moving the needle, right? I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, man, after seeing the debate. I think people who watch the debate who are undecided are not going to have a favorable view of Donald Trump, because I think he looked like like that authoritarian leader that you fear that he could be, or the one that he's perceived as sometimes in left-wing media. I think it didn't make him look good. But how many people more do you think he gained off of this? After this debate, I was thinking, what did I just watch? Yeah, for sure. For sure. Biden was much better in the 2012 debate against Paul Ryan. Yeah, we talked about that, man. In 2012, Biden was sharp. Not the same guy at all. He's clearly not the same candidate at all as he was in 2012. And this looked bad. Even in the second debate, when he was getting beat up on by all the other candidates in the Democratic primary, Biden looked better than this. He looked defeated tonight, and it was just him and Trump, so it looked really bad on him. But again, it's going to be about how the media can spin this, right? Because, we on this channel, we watch both sides. We're looking at all the media from every angle. And I think that it's just going to be interesting how they try to portray this. I feel like the left wing media is not going to focus on Biden's responses. You might get one or two clips where he spoke to the camera. Most of it's just going to be fact checking Donald Trump. Matter of fact, I bet we can check the narrative right now and see what it looks like, because I imagine they're already starting. The fact checking campaign of tonight's debate. Will you shut up, man, is the highlight. Pure chaos at the first debate. Yep, that's right. Yep, see, right there. Fact-checking Biden and Trump at the first presidential debate. And they're going right for it, man, because I think that's the best line of attack you have against somebody who spoke that much. And Trump, he really pushed the Hunter Biden narrative about the payments, tying him to the corruption. I think if Trump had taken that and focused more on, just Washington corruption in general, not.
It is all happening, people. Tonight is the first of.
I think mentioning Hunter was a good start, but I think he should have gotten that and focused on, just the Democratic establishment. I think that would have gone over a lot better. He really kept pushing the Hunter Biden thing, which, after a certain point, it was just like, okay, what the hell does that have to do with the guy who I'm trying to vote for or not vote for? It just didn't really land. I think he had a shot, but again, this is just an example of Trump being overly aggressive to his own detriment. Trump would have looked bad if Wallace had not been so strong. Yeah, Wallace definitely did push back. What was Trump wrong about? Let me see something. I'm going to have to do a better video for you. He was wrong about quite a few things. And it wasn't necessarily that he was just way, way off. He was definitely stretching some truth, but so was Biden, So I got here, Biden lied about Trump. Okay, so there was a moment where Trump, I don't know what the exchange is. They're talking about the pandemic, and Biden says that Trump didn't try to get our own medical experts into China, and that he was praising the Chinese government, which is actually not true. And this is one of those things that came out of the Woodward book. Trump was trying to get American officials in there, and China wouldn't let them come in. And that was one of the things that really made him upset, which is why he started to to change the narrative on China at the time. But I think this debate was just such chaos that there were no real follow-up questions. The moderator didn't say anything, and it just kind of went under the radar. But we'll see. You know what I mean? It just depends on what the coverage is like, really. I was thinking, let's see where we at. Trump's plan is not to be annoying. He's just naturally annoying and doesn't even realize it. I won't vote for Biden because UBI has never been an easier layup. Biden is an absolute lying. Likewise with Kamala. Don't forget, if you don't vote for Biden, you oh boy, you ain't black. Bryce with the super chat, appreciate you. When asked if Trump would encourage his followers not to engage in civil unrest, great point. Trump replied that he would encourage his followers to watch what happens at the polls. I foresee problems. Yes, absolutely. Biden gave the flat out no. Trump danced around it. I mean, these are the things that worry me about Trump. Again, this is what I'm saying. In the moment, this mixed with the way he was behaving at the debate, these do not look good for him to independent or to somebody who is an undecided voter, because they might think, man, I some of these things are good about him, but his behavior mixed with this rhetoric, it just concerns me about making him the leader of the country for another 4 years. I really don't. I really wish he would back off of that. And the fact that he keeps pushing it, it's one of those things that rubs me the wrong way. Like, it's just like, dude, stop doing that. Stop doing that. You have a major platform. You're the president. You're the leader of the country. And you say these divisive things. You push this message. And bravo to Chris Wallace, because there were a couple moments where he pushed Biden on divisive rhetoric. He talked about they're saying statements that go against Trump on the vaccine and whether or not they can trust the scientists, they can trust the president, and I think they rightfully were called out by Chris Wallace. I don't think the answer was very clear in that particular instance, but I just wish this debate was moderated a little bit better. Maybe they needed two moderators. Didn't Biden lie about being enrolled at at HBCU? Yes, he did. Biden did lie about. I don't know when that was, but apparently Biden had at some point said that he started his college experience at an HBCU and then transferred somewhere, and then Trump called that out. It's just like, yo, y'all got to stop, man. But that's what I'm saying. I was really impressed by how many things Donald Trump knew. He knew a lot. Like, I'll definitely give him credit. He definitely knew a lot. And that kind of surprised me. I thought that he would keep it very, very narrow. But he answered. He had a lot of good responses, a lot of good rebuttals about just things all across the spectrum. It almost made me wonder, when the hell does this guy have time to be president? Because he seems to read a lot of between the tabloids and the YouTube videos and the newspapers. Like, when are you president, bro? Because you were consuming a lot of media. But yo, he definitely was ready. Stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch two grown men squabble. I'm sorry you did that. Yeah, you should have just taken it to the bed. Didn't Biden? Oh, you said that. It may not look good, but it's how. But not saying anything wrong. Yeah. Hiding Biden, Trump, yang for. Yeah, man, this was just a really, really crazy night. Like I said, I was excited for it. I'm just really disappointed after actually viewing the debate. I was expecting maybe not a ton of substance because, debates don't really get into policy very often. But it was just messy. You know what I mean? It was just a little bit too much. Pure waste of time. Yeah, I can't believe I stayed on that whole thing. I was about to fall asleep myself. I was like, come on, man. Hour and a half straight, no bathroom breaks, no commercials, nothing. They just went. I needed a break. I needed a couple of breaks. You're not watching the next ones? Yeah, I think I might just do the highlights after this one. Trump looked unhinged, but Biden didn't do much to capitalize on it. Biden not acknowledging the Antifa exists makes him look like Mr. Magoo. I just think Biden was just so out of it, man. I think Trump just beat him up too bad. I think there were moments where Biden was like, he had it, but then he just seemed like he was crushed. Like, I think that he was at moments like, why am I up here? Like, I think he was giving himself pep talks. Like, he looked like not disengaged, but he looked like he couldn't believe he was in this moment and just getting pumped. It didn't look good. Like I said, he had moments, he had opportunities. He had those moments where he spoke to the camera, which I think came off better, but he just doesn't have enough to say to the camera. You know what I mean? Like, he had some parts where you can tell this was a prepared thing and he's going to speak to the camera. But every time he spoke to Donald Trump, it just did not look, it didn't end well because Trump would just fire back and Trump would talk over him. So much so that he was interrupting the moderator. He just go and nobody could stop him. I don't think the polls will change. No, the polls won't change. The polls won't change, but this was an opportunity for the media narrative to change. And what didn't happen tonight was that they didn't get enough from Joe Biden to be able to use it to change the narrative. All that they're going to be able to run off of this is going to be Trump lying about various things or Trump exaggerating facts. They don't have anything new on Trump from this, which is probably a loss for the Biden campaign. They were looking for Trump to say something that they could be like, okay, here's the new lie. But I will definitely put that as a moth in here. I'll put that on the moderator, man. It should ask better questions. Like, I hate that we watch all these debates and then we watch all these debates, we see all these news reports, and then they get into we watch all these news reports, we do all this coverage, and then they get into debates and they ask questions they already know the answers to. Like, you could give me some better questions, man. He used all his energy up when he got angry about his dead son. Well, I felt bad about that because he was talking about his son, and then Trump just knocked the wind out of him when he started talking about his other son. It was just like, ugh. Trump supporters on Twitter claiming Chris Wallace was biased. Chris Wallace was biased. Chris Wallace was biased. I mean, he had some. I won't. Hey, he did have a question for Joe about the rhetoric about the vaccines. I think that was a good, tough question for Joe. But for the most part, it wasn't really. It was pretty one-sided. I need policies, not you're better than me. Yeah, if you want policies, don't watch debates. Just read policy pages because you're not getting none of that here. Biden was focused on his practice scripts. Yeah, for sure. You could definitely see him looking down. I'm sure that he had his little lines written very, very tiny, like he was struggling to read them. He was trying to read them, but Trump was on his ass the whole time. This is as good as the debate gets. What's going to be interesting is the VP debate. Oh, I can't wait for the VP debates because you know what? Given the way Kamala Harris has been shielded from the media, I don't know if she's going to do that well. And I think Mike Pence is like a silent killer, man. He don't say much. But Kamala Harris doesn't have a great record either. So you would think when she joined the ticket, we all thought, okay, she's going to be the face of the campaign since Joe Biden's not out there. She's been hidden for the last 30 days. Why? Why is the only person on the ticket who can move around and talk and answer questions? Why is this person not answering any questions? Because she's a liability as well. So I think that people who think that she's going to be the savior of this ticket are going to be disappointed because she ain't that great. And she also, she didn't perform in the debates well. I mean, remember she was getting beat up by Tulsi? Like, she's not that great of a candidate. She's a liability as well. So it's going to be interesting. But hopefully, she'll stand up for herself a little bit so we can at least have a back and forth. But don't sleep on Mike Pence, man. Trump lost some opportunity. MSM is going with Proud Boy. Oh, yeah, that Proud Boys question. Trump really messed up on that one. He really should have answered that question, and he just danced his way right around that one and never actually did. He started to. He said, "What do you want me to condemn?" Didn't answer the question. I said, "Oh, come on, man." They're trying to turn that into the whole real. Yeah, and that's exactly what I said. Trump spoke too much to his detriment. Like, you got to get off the gas a little bit. You know what I mean? When you're on a hill, you could just ease off the gas. You're still going to coast. Joe Biden was embarrassing himself plenty. He needed to let Joe Biden answer some of his questions himself. I'm not so sure that better questions would have helped if they can't even answer. You might be right, man. Hey, what's up, bro? That's my guy. Biden not condemning packing the courts looks bad. Well, I mean, he got caught up, right? Because what did Trump say? There was 100 and however many vacancies in federal courts. Like, what's up with that? Why didn't they answer that question? Why wasn't that question even asked by Chris Wallace? So there was an opportunity there. And Trump said, I'm doing my duty by filling the vacancies. So, I mean, and that question was actually, why should they vote for you instead of your opponent? And Trump was just talking about all the things that he's done. So when that came up, it was just like, damn, 300 judges, huh? What have you been doing, Joe? Yang would have done better. Pete would have done better. Bernie would have done better. Tulsi would have done better. We're stuck with you. Yeah, anybody would have done better, man. Anybody would have done better. You forgot about the Tims. Those are not Tims. I'm not going to acknowledge those. Call Dana White and set up the fight for debate number 2. Yeah, man, this was just rough. This was a really rough evening. Trump started talking about favored nations and his plan on healthcare. I thought the healthcare was going to be like a stump for Trump, but Trump had a decent response to that. They started getting into the mandate off Obamacare, and how many people are going to lose their insurance. There was something that Biden got wrong about health care. I'm gonna have to double check what it was, but it was something about oh, Biden had a couple. You know what? Biden did have a couple of good moments. There was one moment where Trump said they were talking about health care, and Trump was saying how many people, or Biden was saying Trump was saying how many people lost their lives because of the pandemic or something like that. And then no, I'm saying it wrong. This was a Trump point. My bad. Biden was talking about how many people lost their lives because of the pandemic, and then Trump goes something like, "Yeah, well, 300 and something thousand veterans lost their lives because of the way you've been running the VA." And I was just like, Jesus. Again, these are alternative facts. Who knows if any of this stuff is legitimate? But man, in the moment, he was just taking the wind out of Joe Biden's sails over and over and over again. Let's see, what's this? Asking to bring in our experts. Yeah, we covered that. We covered favorite nations. Yeah, the Proud Boys definitely was a bad moment for Trump. After the Proud Boys thing is when I wrote Trump is starting to look bad, and that was when the Hunter Biden exchange came up. I talked about the Paris Accord a bit. Biden definitely trying to make his case to distance himself from the left, talking about the Green New Deal. He doesn't support the Green New Deal. They didn't say fracking or anything like that. There's the stupid bastards comment that Joe Biden allegedly made, which it looks like he actually did, but he was actually joking. Joe Biden denied that he even made that statement. He shouldn't have done that. He should have just said it was a joke. I was talking to my people. There were just little moments. Like I said, highlight-wise, this doesn't look good for Biden, but in the full context, I think that Biden ultimately didn't end up looking that bad. I'm trying to see what the exit polls saying. I wonder what the impact to the ultra progressives who have been beaten down by the neo-libs when he shot down the Green New Deal directly. Will that cause them to say, I ain't voting? I mean, I don't think anyone thought that he was voting or that he supported the Green New Deal, right? I think those were just things that Trump was just trying to use to align Biden with the left. And he kept pointing it out. Again, too aggressively a bit, but he kept pointing out, he doesn't want to lose the support of the left. He doesn't want to lose the support of the progressives. He just kept going back to that point. He can't condemn that group because he doesn't want to lose his supporters. He won't say law and order. Like, he was really doing that over and over again. Like I said, it was just too much. I mean, if you counted how many times he made some statement to that effect of losing the left or losing progressive support or being controlled by the left, like it had to have been at least 7, 8, 9, 10 times. It felt to me like Biden was on his heels all night and stuttered too much. Zero minds changed. Yeah, that's it. Nothing new. Nothing new here, man. We knew that Joe Biden wasn't going to do well tonight. I was hoping that he would have a few moments. I didn't really see enough to think that they can spin this in a positive light. But like I said, Trump have sunk himself with his facts. So that will probably be the saving grace for the Biden campaign. Wasn't all Trump's just projection, though. I mean, it just depends on what you're talking about specifically. I think Trump definitely was right about a lot of things. He definitely said a lot of things that were accurate, but he also said a lot of things that were not accurate. And I think we're probably only going to hear about the ones that were not accurate. Thoughts on Donald Trump's egregious stance on the utter state of male testicular rights? They're being absolutely trampled on by Big corrupt government, and I, for one, am disgusted. What? Oh, man. I don't know if you're serious with that comment. Just joined, saw up until the climate exchange. Yeah, the climate was pretty much at the end. Climate was right before the whether or not it's going to be a fair election, followed by the you pledge not to declare victory until after we have an official count, and I think that's the end of the night. So, yeah, you watched pretty much the whole debate. We all know that people accuse each other of what they themselves do, as evidenced by Trump not condemning the far right. Yeah, the whole night was just extra wild. It really was. The taxes thing came up. Trump, of course, gave the answer that I expected him to give. Of course, I don't pay taxes. This is what you're supposed to do. What do I have here? They talked about the mask. Trump brilliantly pointed out that Dr. Fauci changed his stance on the mask, which I know what's going to happen. My silence is deafening. What's my silence? I don't know if you're serious. Trump's stance on the mask, or not Trump, but Fauci's statement on the mask. What's being reported now is, oh no, Fauci was actually saying we don't want to take that PPE away from medical professionals who need it. But at the time, it was very clear that Fauci said that masks were not necessarily something that we needed to be implementing, which I remember thinking, so I guess you're on your own, because if they're going to sit there and tell you that you don't need to wear a mask, meanwhile, they're sending doctors into hospitals with masks on to keep them from being exposed to infectious disease, you can't trust the people who are giving you information. Did I ever listen to the Olympians? I did not. I did not listen to the Olympians. What's the Olympians? That's what I mean by projection. Trump is also guilty of pretty much everything he accuses Biden of. Sorry, I'm reading these comments. Okay. All right. But yeah, that was it. That was pretty much the debate. Oh yeah, there was a moment they talked about critical race theory, which, Trump actually gave a good answer, but think that he failed to define critical race theory in a way that is going to make it come off as what it actually is. Write it down. Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah, they talked about critical race theory, but Chris Wallace was using it interchangeably with diversity training, and Trump allowed that to happen, which I think will hurt him, because this will be another opportunity for them to take that and run with the narrative of Trump is against diversity training, because when Joe Biden answered that question, he answered it as diversity training, not as critical race theory. And again, we made a video about this. We talked about it. It's specifically a very different, it's a very different and nuanced definition of, or interpretation of, we'll say, history or just our society in general. And Trump allowed that to happen. Once again, he was just going 100 miles an hour. He if he had slowed down, I think he definitely would have gotten this. But he answered it, but he didn't clarify it. Like, he needed to define it. He needed to say, no, you keep saying diversity training. That's not what I got rid of. Don't do that. And he let it slip. I follow Unfiltered Politics on Insta, and Trump was taking the cues from all the image bros. Oh, the MAGA bros, the target talking points. That doesn't surprise me. I told you, Trump consumes a lot of media. Like, I was definitely impressed by his knowledge of all the things that he was talking, or at least his ability to regurgitate a lot of the talking points. They talked about the economic recovery. That I think is just going to be lost in translation just because there's so many different things. We didn't talk about the housing crisis at all. I thought that could have come up. That would have been a strong point for Trump. I want to see what the Hill says about the debate. I don't think anyone is going to say this debate was positive. I think it's really hard to spin this thing. Are they live streaming it right now? Let's see. We're going to check out the... How do I think Joe did? I think Joe did terrible. I think Joe did terrible, but Trump's inability to keep himself in check is going to hurt him because they're going to be able to use his...
It is all
they're going to be able to
people.
use
Tonight
some
is
of
the first of 3
truth stretching against him or facts that he may have gotten wrong. I think he probably got a couple of facts wrong, and it's going to hurt him because those are going to be what the mainstream media is going to run with. And then, of course, the Hill right here, first video the Hill posts. Trump refuses to denounce white supremacy, says stand back and stand by on Proud Boys movement. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. Trump, he just...
white supremacists and militia groups, and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared
willing
to
do
specifically
that,
do it? Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not a...
That was not good. Do you see? That was not good. That's what Donald Trump does. That's what he does. You will almost be rocking and rolling with this guy, and then he will do something like that, and that's when you got to say, damn, bro. I can't even rock with you like that. Bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? That sounds like... That sounded deliberate. Do you think he wants a civil war? I've seen hints throughout his presidency. I don't know if he wants civil war. I don't think he wants civil war. No rich guy wants civil war, right? That's not good for business. But I don't think he wants to lose. And I don't think he cares what happens if he does. He owns luxury hotels and resorts, so civil war doesn't seem like it'd be good for the brand. I don't think that's going to make him a lot of money. But at the same time, he just does these things that just baffles me, man. I'm just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you do that. It's very simple. Like, you know how the left, or how the Democrats, ignore the left? Like, you could just ignore a certain group. You'll probably still get most of them. He won't do that. So by refusing to denounce certain groups, he just makes people who want to support him think a little bit harder. And that's going to be what you get from this. Breaking analysis from the Hill unfolds on national TV. My opinion, did he say stand by on purpose, or is he that much of a media? It was 100% on purpose. All he had to say was, I'm condemning this group. He didn't have to do what he did. Let's play it again.
Add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared
willing
to
do
specifically
that,
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
I'm willing to say anything. I want peace, right? Very simple. You set this up.
Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists.
Who would you like me to condemn? Because I want y'all. This is gonna happen. Who would you like me to condemn?
And right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the.
You just said it. You said, "Tell me who to condemn, and I'll do it."
Left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
I mean, yo, this is the bed you're making. I don't know why you do these things. I hope you think that this is a great strategy, but it's not. Like, you making people look at you crazy, bro. Play the rest of the clip. Okay. It's 4:53.
That's what his FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
That's not an idea.
Everybody in your administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
all right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump and Biden records.
They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record.
Dance right out of it. That's not the end of the clip, because they're about to talk about something else. I'll let you hear the rest of it so you can see that I'm not trying to control the narrative here.
But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done.
I just wanted you to see that I'm not cutting the clip off because Donald Trump actually answered the question. They've completely moved on to a different question. And I think Trump did actually give a decent answer to this next question. I don't know why he does these things. He's making himself look bad. And this is what I mean when I say he spoke a little bit too much. Let's see what CNN is running right now, because they got to cover this thing up. They're running the... Let's see what clips they're running. Trump wants old people to be terrified of fictional communist liberal gangs of which who eat kids and want to drag them out. Well, he had a couple of moments where he was able to do a little bit of fear mongering of his own. There was quite a bit of that tonight. What do you guys want? Critical race theory, the pandemic response, or he asks Trump about his healthcare plan? You'll see. I don't have to make anybody look bad. They did a great job of doing it themselves. There were terrible candidates on both sides. Bad moments all across the board. Yang, what's his take? You see that Yang is invisible, right? You see they didn't call up Yang for this because, like Joe Biden, who's tried to use Yang for support, he has no agency. They just call him up when they want to put a friendly face on the screen. I didn't even see Van Jones out there. This is all just depressing. Yeah, it was terrible. This was absolutely terrible. All right, y'all didn't pick. All right, I'm gonna play. He doesn't have a plan. This might be a good moment for Joe. I don't remember it exactly.
My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward?
I was just told don't play too many clips from CNN, so we're going to cut off CNN. Let's go to MSNBC. Well, let's go to Fox News. Actually, Fox don't ever give me any problems. Let's play this Fox clip.
I'm going to ask each of you, why should
Have I ever
voters
voted third
elect
party?
you president?
No, I don't believe in wasting votes. No, I don't vote third party. This is a really interesting exchange. This is Trump's biggest moment of the night, I think.
Over your opponent in this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. He was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges, it's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got $3.5 million.
And by the way, my son...
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you add
no, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you add back 30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may.
Brace yourself.
Right. Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking about Hunter? Are you talking about Hunter?
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. Once you became vice president, he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
He made a fortune.
My son.
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he given tens of millions of dollars?
But he wasn't given tens of millions of dollars. That is totally discredited.
We've already been
totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
Gets $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
Let's talk about.
I think it's a gentlemen,
that
report is totally discredited.
Yeah. So, like I said, this thing was ugly. Okay. Joe walked right into that one. I mean, he just walked right into a buzzsaw. He thought he had something. He thought he was going somewhere. And, you know, Trump actually gave a pretty decent response about why he should be reelected regarding the things that he's done in his term. And then, you know, Joe tried to put this little impassionate speech together, and it was going well. And then he got derailed when he mentioned his son. And I think he should have known not to mention Hunter Biden or any of his children ever again after the way Trump had been on him all night anyway about Hunter Biden. But he did that, and Trump just flipped it, man. He flipped it, and that's the clip. So, like I said, most of the night looked like that. I think in most of the night, Trump wasn't able to put together such eloquent little pieces or his statements about, you know, his legacy or things that he's done or his track record, things like that. But for the most part, they all ended in a Joe Biden disaster, whether it be just a crash and burn or Trump interrupting him or Trump talking over him or the moderator trying to get involved. Like, it was all bad. But feel free to watch it yourself. I'm telling you right now, it's interesting, but I'd probably pass. Biden 2020 to prevent a dictatorship. Again, if you were thinking that it was a dictatorship, if you thought Trump was a dictator and you watched that event, you definitely confirmed that he is, because that's what he looked like. He looked very authoritarian tonight. And he controlled everybody in the room. The moderator said that the Hunter report was discredited. Not to my knowledge that's been discredited. As far as I know, that's an open investigation. I don't know. Things may have changed since the last time I checked. The last time I checked was like 2 days ago. You know, stuff changes moment to moment, so I don't want to speak on it if it has been discredited. But I don't think I heard that. I don't think I heard him say it was discredited, actually, but maybe I missed the actual statement. But yeah, it was a lot of that. I think everyone who watched the debate is going to probably think that it was pretty chaotic. Let's go to the LA Times. They always put a nice little panel together.
Voting by mail, whether you requested a ballot or not, it's frustrating to see the mistruths being spewed out there more than anything.
I'd like to see the things that were made facts or that weren't true. And I'd like to see, like, in a grid saying Fox News says this is true, NBC says this isn't true. I'd like to see who says what is true, because I have a feeling the media is half the problem of what is true and what is not true.
Yep.
It would be, I'd like to see everybody else attest to it, going, yeah, you know what? We all agree this one was true. Because I feel if it's one or the other, I'd say let's just throw that out as nobody knows. I don't trust the media too much more than anybody else. So, because you can dig.
That's actually one of, I think that's the the good thing about the debate, in the moment, you can say things and you can lie your ass off and no one's really going to check you for the most part. Of course, on the flip side, the fact check will be coming tomorrow. And the fact check is what they're going to run with for the next 4 or 5 days. So after Trump gets aggressively pursued by the media and fact check tonight, expect him to try to change the narrative significantly tomorrow. At the end of the video, he said that it was discredited. Okay. I probably missed it. Did you see the story of the couple who spray painted their garage door Biden 20? I didn't know it was a couple. I didn't know they got caught, but I did see that someone was saying that some BLM protesters spray painted that building. But I'm out. Yeah, I'm out too, man. Appreciate you for coming through. I appreciate all of you guys for coming through. You want to see Frank Lutz's focus groups, undecided voters? Yeah, we're going to definitely check that out. So, yeah, appreciate you guys for coming through. Late night debate was insane. I'll probably come back tomorrow early with a little brief recap. Nothing super long and elaborate. I'll leave this video up. You guys are awesome. If you watch the debate, or if you want to be involved, feel free to watch the debate. Like I said, I'd love for you guys to have your own opinions on things. I'm not here to give you anything, but based on what I saw, I try to call it down the line. Decent performance, but I think Trump is going to be in trouble when it comes time to fact check. Biden did not look good tonight, but I think that the media is probably going to be able to do a decent job of spinning it because Trump just was a little bit out of control, a little bit unhinged. And if he had just taken his foot off the gas just a little bit, I think that he could let Biden bury himself. But we'll see. We'll see how they try to turn this thing. Pay attention. I'll be back tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys for coming through. I'll see you guys soon.